You know, they have to pick something that is going to start the fight for them, because it's going to be difficult for the rest of the team to make a first move. Like Clockwork is definitely one of the few better heroes like doing that, and Empire is going to go for their classic off-lane Earthshaker or Sand King. So in this case, it will be the Earthshaker.
Yeah, the Sand King being banned out in the last minute by Vici, but then the Tide being banned out by Empire to shut it down. So Clock being the last resort. All right, so with the Earthshaker coming in, I mean, how's Empire looking in game one? Pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I would say their draft has much more room for error, whereas Vici's draft, they have to execute much better to win the game.
I'm not as biased against Vici Gaming's draft as you are. I feel like they actually have the tools they need to kite the Tiny. They have good stuns, they have good slows, they have lots of them as well,
right?
To try to kite around. I think the most important thing Vici Gaming needs to deal with is how do they prevent the Quap from running rampant. If they manage that, I don't think IO Tiny is the big problem here.
All right. Well, we will find out. Game is starting. Game number 1 between Vici Gaming and Team Empire of Group B.
For most of the game, like he's just, if he ever gets the Earthshaker inside of his cogs with battery assault, you can't actually do anything as an Earthshaker.
Oh, most definitely. Like if I'm an Earthshaker off lane, and I see a Clockwork on the other team, it's just annoying to play in general. And the other thing that we should consider is that Rubik, if you give up a Rubik Fissure, especially with the type of lineup that Empire have, it's going to be so hard for them to play against. Because one of the harder counters to the Queen of Pain, especially for setups, is having the Fissure, right? You can Fissure, then the Rubik can walk in, lift, and then the Crystal Maiden can Frostbite, and it's pretty much a free kill. So I kind of want to see Silent not build typically, which is the whole, what is it, like a lot of people just go Orchid off the bat. I actually think going something like Ags, BKB, or Yule Scepter, like something defensive first, is the better play here.
Of course, we want to take the time to welcome everybody from the stream that is just now joining our commentary. Hope you guys are ready for what should be one of the better games of the group stages, as Empire and Vici Gaming both rated quite heavily. We're going to see Empire already setting up on this top bounty rune. Vici Gaming will take the bottom one. So it doesn't look like we're going to be seeing any first blood action. Ice. Whoa, he's just playing this very aggressively. Throws down an early cogs and managed to get two bounces off.
You got to be careful. I actually thought he was going to get pushed one more time onto the. That would have been miserable.
Pushed up onto the cliff.
Yeah, he has no gold. That would have just ruined his game.
That was a very clever move by Ice, especially the way that he set that one up. Like, even if he doesn't get the bounce back, just getting one or maybe even two pushes like that is kind of worth use of the mana. Now, our middle lane is going to be Super facing up against his Resolution, Aloha Dance, Tiny Wisp combination. Of course, he's not going to be alone. Fenrir is going to be spending a lot of time bouncing in between jungle and moving into lane, as I'm sure Super is going to need the help.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, there's no reason for Fenrir to just abandon the Dragon Knight, because he's going to struggle in general. Like, look at this already. This is what we were talking about when we first saw the draft, is that the Dragon Knight does okay, but it's really deceptive. Like, it's not actually that great of a matchup. And so I'm pretty interested to see that.
A lot of bottle crowing is what Super has to do, because he has to stay at pretty much max HP, and even then he can't really get too close to the Tiny Wisp combination. He's going to have to just spam out a lot of Breathe Fires. Now, there is going to be some recovery gold to be had. As Fenrir is farming up the creeps, he's also stacking them. So he's killing the bigger creeps, but the smaller creeps are stacking up. I'm sure that'll be something Super is able to farm a little bit later with his Breathe Fire. Meanwhile, at top lane, Ice is dealing with a very difficult lane. 2 different range heroes and 2 different slows on top of that. As Always Wanna Fly has gone for the more offensive build, level 1, as why would he need Shallow Grave or Shadow Wave in this matchup anyway?
Yeah, for sure. And for me, personally, Empire is just a team of polar opposites when compared to Vici Gaming. And it just feels like Empire have their number. Like, I think the last few times I've cast them, it's always been Empire that wins this matchup. And I think it just comes down to the playstyles. Like, Resolution is a completely different mid than Super, right? Like, Resolution likes to play incredibly aggro heroes that soak up a lot of farm. Ice likes to play like the playmaking mids and stuff like that, but this might actually be first blood here.
Yeah, Aloha Dance, he actually snagged that haste rune. They're going to go for Ice, who trapped himself in the cogs, is trying to get away now, but the haste rune plus the extra movement speed on the tethered Tiny is allowing them to keep in pace. Ice goes for the deny. Oh, Aloha Dance actually snacks the first blood there.
I was giving him mana too.
Right click, and now Fenrir has enough mana. He's actually going to turn around, get off another Crystal Nova, but he will die as well. Aloha Dance secures a double kill. The tower hit will actually finish him off in the end. But it's still a big win for Team Empire as they battle it out for that top rune.
Yeah, and this is what I was talking about. It's the playstyle of Empire. I don't think that Vici Gaming is used to teams getting this active on them and just playing so aggressively on them from the get-go. And it's kind of weird because the heroes would dictate otherwise, right? Like, the mid lane is very aggressive, but the types of supports that Empire typically pick are defensive ones, right? Like, they really favor heroes like the Shadow Demon, the Dazzle, and so those aren't heroes that you typically see initiate or anything like that. And in this game, you see that too, but it is Empire that pick up the first kill. Whereas their offlaner, Yoki, almost always plays the Earthshaker, the Sand King role, and on the flip side of Vici Gaming, you've got Ice 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 that almost always plays some sort of playmaker role. Like, he doesn't just like to play a passive offlaner.
Now, both of these offlaners are going to be having a pretty difficult time. As you already mentioned, Ice 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 is dealing with Queen of Pain plus even the Dazzle. Pretty obnoxious there. The Earthshaker, very dangerous matchup for him as well with the Gyrocopter. Being able to dish out so much damage with that Rock Barrage, he's got to play pretty safe and passive in his lane. You could already see he's heading back to base. He figures, you know what, I'm already low on HP. I have no mana left. And that's really how he's going to get probably half to, if not maybe 3/4 of his CS is through some Fissure spam. So he's going to head on back to base and will return with a TP perhaps. Still waiting on some more action in this middle lane. Super, though, is being very careful to keep his HP bar up. Every single time he gets a toss on him, he makes sure to use another bottle charge to keep high HP. And whenever they go for a rune, he's able to move forward and get a couple of right clicks, but as soon as they return, he has to sit back once again.
Yeah, something interesting is Aloha Dance isn't playing the typical Wisp role on the dire side, whereas I don't actually think they cut down the trees, so they can't go for the repeated neutral stacks like most combinations opt to. And I think this is just because they want to try to apply as much pressure mid as they can, but it's not even like they're dominating in CS, and they haven't actually been able to pick up a kill on Super, so I would kind of like to see him revert to going back to the stack and focusing on that, just to give Resolution that huge infusion of gold.
Do you think there's any real danger that if Aloha Dance actually leaves, they're going to go for Super now? Attempted toss back there, but it actually misses. Resolution caught underneath the tower will take a lot of this damage, but there is, of course, that constant tether and damage reduction. But the toss back, now the tether fades, and there's no more heal. With the rotation out from FY, they actually pick up the kill on Team Empire. Huge loss there for the Tiny Wiz combo.
That was actually so big of a rotation. Like, there's no way that they could have anticipated that, and it was just good play overall. And Ice 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 is going to get isolated out, but he's just going to TP and be fine. But that was just really good support rotation, because typically the way that you approach it against a Tiny IO is that you don't want to go on the Tiny, right? But they just did it in such a way that there was no response possible, and Resolution forced down to this bottom lane, but they don't even get the kill on him, and so this is just wasted time.
Yeah, kind of weird rotation. They must have thought they were going to be able to get a combo on Gyrocopter, maybe even toss him back underneath the tower, but it just was not going to work out for them. So he makes his way back to the middle lane, where Super is now sitting at a much more comfortable 17-3 on CS, while Resolution sitting slightly above him, 22-7. Comparing the Queen of Pain to the Gyrocopter, Gyrocopter is slightly ahead, but the Queen of Pain has many, many more denies. As the Gyrocopter, I think, has spent some of his time even pushing the wave into the tower. Now the top lane, Ice Ice Ice, really trying to control the runes as much as possible, but Aloha Dance is still able to snag a big one. Regeneration for the Wisp.
You have to still contest runes and stuff like that. Like, you have to absolutely continue to apply pressure so that both supports have to rotate in, or they just feel scared. And Resolution follows him every single time to do that. And so I think it's just a good plan by him, because there's not a whole lot he can do in this top lane, Ice Ice Ice, once he's against a Queen of Pain that has the levels on him. And the Queen of Pain's also going to pick up a bottle now, and so the lane's going to get even more difficult for him. Because he doesn't have one of his own. In this mid lane, Super actually with the stun and both supports rotating forward.
Oh no, the tether's going to be broken. Oh no, it actually still keeps alive, and that will actually keep Resolution alive potentially. No, the burst damage is still too much. Aloha Dance couldn't stop that one. Tried to tether and bottle as much as possible, but it does not work out. And another kill on the Tiny. At this rate, Super is now going to completely take over this lane by himself.
Yeah, this is so significant because Vici Gaming are just waiting for Resolution and the Tiny, or the Aloha Dance, to just get antsy, and they're forcing engagements way past where they can. And so you're seeing them just get a little bit too jumpy. Like, they should be relaxing, just focusing on farming.
A 3-man smoke up, how TP to the tier
so
2
smart.
tower. If they get a third kill on Resolution, Empire are going to be falling so far behind. Oh, they're actually sneaking around. They're going to look for the stacks. But now they're going to see there is no stacks. There's no recovery mechanism whatsoever for the Tiny Wisp. And so now looks like they went head up to top lane instead.
They just missed the stack. It was actually over there.
Oh, dear. Well, they will probably catch Always Wanna Fly, or maybe not, FY.
They want Silent.
The Cogs push back there on Silent. They are able to control him. The Frostbite is there, and Silent is taken out. Always Wanna Fly. He's going to run himself away ahead of How. Another Rocket Barrage. Always Wanna Fly drops low, and the burst damage of the rocket was enough to finish off the Dazzle before a Shallow Grave could come out.
Yeah, and right now, Vici Gaming are just playing so well with each other. Like, they're just creating opportunities constantly. There was a time period, I feel, where Vici were actually struggling to make things happen around the map. It felt like their movements were a little too forced. But going for that 6-minute rotation into the jungle just to find stacks, and then they come away with the kill on the safe laner and the 5-position support is absolutely key. And the fact is that the Dragon Knight itself hasn't even been slowed down that much.
How the first relocate comes in, and How does get picked off. Ice, quick to pop the Cogs, and will be able to TP away. Looks like Resolution still wanted to find more. Superman's up. He goes for Always Wanna Fly, trying to target him now, knowing that the relocate back was going to be coming in, and that means no more support from the Tiny. Always Wanna Fly gonna tick out here potentially. Nope, he is good. No, finally the poison got to him. They tried to heal him up, but the bottle was not enough HP. So the Tier 1 tower at the top lane will now fall, and Empire very rapidly falling behind in net worth and experience.
It's actually insane how good Vici Gaming are rotating right now. Like, their rotations aren't obvious at all, but they're still making them. That smoke gank into the jungle to pick off the safe laner, the fact that both supports are rotating like they are,
Yoki.
and even this bottom gank.
Yeah, he's caught out entirely. Yoki, he's going to turn around, throws out the Fisher, but not even that lands. Very sneaky setup from How, throwing out the call down first.
Yeah, now they're finally starting to do some stacks, but they do have one decently sized stack to go to, but it's not even like Resolution is very farmed in comparison to the Dragon Knight. The Dragon Knight has 3 kills and a tower, despite being dual laned against one of the more fearsome dual lane combos, and